Okay, what if I told you there's an invisible signal in pretty much all of our homes and offices that could be making us sick and, well, old before our time? And no, it's not Wi-Fi, it's not 5G, none of that. It's something way more common, hiding in plain sight. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into a really surprising threat from a piece of tech we all use literally every single day.
So where does the story even begin? Well, it starts with this absolute bombshell from a NASA paper. And this wasn't just any paper. It was published in the super high-profile journal, Cell. See, they were studying some of the fittest people on, or maybe I should say off the planet, astronauts on the International Space Station. And what they found was that something was going seriously wrong with their bodies.
And that, right there, is our central mystery. I mean, what could possibly be causing these elite, super-monitored individuals to show signs of premature aging and sickness? It doesn't make any sense, right? Let's follow the evidence and see where it leads.
All right, let's start where this whole mystery kicked off, about 250 miles straight up on the International Space Station. This is where even the healthiest people you can imagine started running into some really baffling health problems.
So here's what NASA's constant monitoring started to show. A lot of these incredibly fit astronauts were becoming pre-diabetic. That's a huge red flag. It means their bodies weren't handling sugar properly. They were also showing really clear, visible signs of aging, way faster than they should have been. There was this one famous case of a female astronaut who spent about a year up there, and when she came back, she looked shockingly older. And when they dug into it, NASA found the root cause, a system-wide problem with their mitochondria.
So you gotta ask, right? If it's not their diet, and it's definitely not their exercise routine, what is it? The next logical step is to look at their environment. What's so different up there? The answer, as it turns out, was the light. Think about it. The environment on the International Space Station is just bathed in this constant, harsh, white LED light, 24/7. And that is our prime suspect. Now why? Because the light that comes out of a modern LED is just fundamentally different from the natural sunlight our bodies have evolved with for millennia. And you can really see the difference when you compare the light spectrums. Natural sunlight, it's smooth, it's balanced, it's got a lot of that good beneficial red light. But a typical LED, it's a totally different story. It has this huge, unnatural spike in a very specific range of blue light. We're talking between 420 and 450 nanometers. And that spike, that's our smoking gun.
Okay, so we've got our suspect, this big blue spike. But how exactly does it do the damage? Well, the answer is deep inside our cells, with those little powerhouses, our mitochondria.
Now, just a quick refresher for everyone. Your mitochondria, they're basically the tiny little power plants inside almost every single cell in your body. They're the ones producing the energy that keeps you going, and, this is critical, they help regulate the speed at which you age. You mess with them, and everything starts to go haywire.
So here's the crazy chain reaction that happens. When our mitochondria absorb that very specific blue light, they basically just shut down. Boom. Energy production grinds to a halt. And what's worse, instead of making energy, they start pumping out these harmful, inflammatory molecules. And because all our mitochondria are basically connected in a network, they start sending out this distress signal across the entire body.
All right, so that's the theory. But what about the proof, right? Well, let's look at some of the controlled studies they did back on Earth, because the results are, frankly, they're pretty shocking.
So researchers set up this experiment. They took some middle-aged mice, and for just a few hours a day, they exposed them to that exact blue spike you find in LEDs. And the results, they were so startling that the lead scientist, a Professor Glen Jeffery, he actually told his team to just scrap the data and do it all over again. He literally could not believe what he was seeing.
But when they reran the whole study, they got the exact same results. The mice that were exposed to that blue light had physically smaller livers, smaller hearts, and smaller kidneys. I mean, they were shrinking. And when they looked under a microscope, the tissue was obviously damaged, and tests showed their organ function was just tanking. It was a complete systemic breakdown, all from being exposed to a specific type of light.
And it isn't just mice either. In an even simpler experiment, scientists raised groups of flies under different kinds of light. The result was the same every single time. The flies living under standard LED lights had way shorter lifespans than the ones living under an old-school incandescent bulb. That big blue spike was, quite simply, killing them faster. Now, the really crucial thing to get here is that this isn't just some weird problem for astronauts or lab animals. This is potentially a problem for all of us living and working under modern lighting. But, And this is the good news. There are simple, really effective things we can do to fix this and rebalance our light environment.
Now I know what you're probably thinking. Oh no, it's my phone, it's my computer screen, but wait, here's a really important clarification. That specific harmful blue spike we've been talking about, that's mainly a feature of the general LED room lighting, the bulbs in your ceiling. The blue light from your phone or computer screen is actually in a different, lighter blue range that our mitochondria don't seem to react to so badly. The real problem is the ambient light filling the rooms we spend hours and hours in.
So what's the action plan? What can you actually do? Well, first and foremost, get more natural sunlight. Every day, it's the perfect balanced light spectrum your body is designed for. At home, you might want to think about switching back to old-fashioned incandescent bulbs. They have all that good red light and they don't have that dangerous blue spike. And here's a great little hack for you. Get a 100-watt incandescent bulb and put it on a dimmer switch. It'll last practically forever and you'll get that healthy, balanced light inside your home.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. It's a pretty powerful idea, isn't it? That the very lights we use to just see the world around us could be fundamentally changing our biology on a cellular level. So, take a second and look around you right now, because the answer to this question might just be one of the most important changes you can make for your long-term health.